Good morning, all you beautiful people. I have put this under members only because this is the first time I've ever done this as far as like giving a commentary to somebody else's video. And I'm not sure of the rules and regulations. And plus, she took the original down, and I'm still not sure why she did that. So, for all the people who wanted to hear the phone call and did not get to because Olivia took the phone call down first, I'm going to give my commentary on this because there's a lot of people going back and forth about she's the woman, Kim. I'm assuming is her name. She's not telling the truth. Oh, well, she is telling the truth. This is more believable than what everybody else is saying. And then we go back to the woman can't be telling the truth. She's went on other talk shows. And in my opinion, what she is saying is very feasible. Okay, maybe it's because I already have a preconceived notion, in my opinion, about what may have happened in the Idaho 4 case, but I find her statements understandable. And people are saying that because she goes back and forth or jumps from one subject to another, that makes it that she's not telling the truth. Well, in my opinion, that makes it more real because think about it. When you're sitting and you're trying to describe something horrific like this and information that you yourself may have, it's hard to stay on track because you're trying to make sure that you remember all the information that you have. It's not like you're sitting there with crib notes and, trying to explain everything. You're trying to remember everything that you have in your mind and trying to make sure that you process it and get it out to the other person. So jumping from one subject to another is completely understandable. And while you're talking, you're thinking, oh, yeah, I forgot to tell her about this. Or, oh, yeah, I forgot to add on that I said 5 minutes ago. So just to put that out there, I find the way she talks, the way she goes about explaining what happened, I find it very reasonable, very believable. But we're going to go through it and you tell me what you think. I'll try not to be too long on my comments, but, it is what it is. Disclaimer. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act, 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news, reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Non-profit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. This video was made for entertainment purposes and is transformative in nature. Now keep in mind the beginning of this phone call got cut off during the processing of it, so please try to overlook that.
In classroom 12 and my kid's sitting in classroom 13. Who's doing that? And I stand behind everything I say, and I've said everything to the FBI immediately. When I discovered a lie, I called the FBI and I told them the lie. I have called the schools. I've tried.
Okay, just right off the bat, guys. Everybody keeps complaining and that this woman has showed no proof. She's nothing. She called the FBI and local law enforcement, but she called the FBI, and that has to be able to be proven. Why would she say that she did that if you could not prove that?
I'm working right now on having Greek Girl suspended. My kid loves Greek Girl. She loves it. But it is so out of control. Well, 10 kids have died since last, February?
10?
That I know of.
At which
At U of I. After San Martinez died, they made sure the kids were very, very aware of the Good Samaritan rule, which means we don't care what state you're in of inebriation or whatever you're doing. You are calling in on somebody who's in real peril. We're not even going to look at you. We're going to say thank you and not even take your name, right? That's what the Good Sam law is.
So right here, she's talking about the Good Sam law, where if something happens, say somebody ODs in front of you and another student can call in and not get in trouble for it. But the thing that hung in my mind was there's been 10 kids at the University of Idaho that have passed away since this past February. Strange.
I thought Moscow had it too, but I don't know about that. So I don't know why the kids aren't. I mean, no, I feel like they were just trying to exercise their power at the beginning of the school year. And you're right. Likely, they put up yes. That could have been. I want to believe that Dylan did and Bethany did everything they possibly could. And none of these kids did anything wrong.
Sorry, I know I'm stopping this a lot, guys, but see, right there. Why would this woman be making something up if she is defending Dylan and Bethany? She's saying that she doesn't know or doesn't think they done anything wrong. Why would she be making this up?
Yeah. No, I don't know that I believe that, but
it's just so weird that was it 8 a.m. that the first phone call was made to like sorority sisters at Pi Beta Phi? So from 8 o'clock till 11:58, that's literally 4 hours of time that goes by.
Right. And if she was awake, like she says, that was 8 hours, and she heard all of that.
So with the do you know for sure that is what the phone calls were about when the roommates called at 8 a.m. and
I think what I heard, and I'm not sure which of the girls said it, was they were getting rid of everything in the house. They were cleaning the house, which would explain the Vans shoe print. Because I'm almost 100% sure that TA guy doesn't wear Vans. College kids, frat kids wear Vans. Like, come on, right? And then to say that.
Now, with this one, from what I'm understanding, and somebody made a comment the other day on my other video that they wouldn't have been cleaning up the house because there was bodily fluid splattered all over the place. They obviously didn't clean it up. That's a lie. She's not talking about that kind of cleanup. She's talking about like drug paraphernalia, possibly drugs. They're speaking of the Van shoes. Possibly those they were cleaning up. That's the kind of cleanup they're talking about, guys. I don't know what else to tell you. Most normal people would know that's what they were talking about.
Murphy was found in the bedroom with Kaylee, but didn't have a speck of blood on him. Are you kidding me? The smell would have just bowled you over.
Another thing is, I mean, to get rid of, it's like it doesn't take 4 hours. So it's like,
so I don't know. I think they were coming up with the narrative, because the narrative that was sent to my daughter at around 10 in the morning, it was that 4 students were killed. They were Pi Phis, and I think they had grouped Kaylee into that Pi Phi group. They didn't, because she's an AFI. Because I remember the girls saying, that's weird that an AFI and a Pi Phi is living together. And they said, well, schools are different. I don't know. Maybe one of them dropped or something. I don't know. And I don't know Greek. I went to Central Washington University.
Okay, 2 things to point out there. And they are speaking of cleaning up. And like Olivia says, it wouldn't take 4 hours to clean all that stuff out. And the woman says, well, that's when they were coming up with the narrative. Her daughter was sent the narrative about 10 o'clock is when she got it on Instagram. And if you think about it, guys, first of all, we heard that the Murphy, the dog, was locked up in the empty room, Kaylee's empty room, because I believe they were in Maddie's room. Kaylee and Maddie were in the room together. So the dog was in Kaylee's room. But she's telling the truth. By that amount of time, from 4 o'clock in the morning till 12, something's going to be starting to smell a little bit, especially for a poor dog. But I don't believe he would have gotten anything on him because, like I said, he was in Kaylee's room, but there was nobody else in that room. He was locked up by himself.
I didn't have Greek there. But so anyways, they said that they were stabbed to death, and they said about Bethany's injuries. And then...
Wait, whose injuries? Yeah. Bethany?
Not Bethany, I'm sorry, about Maddie's injuries.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you know their injuries or not.
But another thing
they all knew that.
That's interesting because from what I had heard was the kid that discovered the bodies. But from what you're telling me, it seems like multiple people knew about the injuries before the so-called person. So that's not true then.
So he might have been called over. See, I can't imagine.
And that goes along with everything that we heard in the beginning, which was there was multiple people called over. before the 911 call was put in.
Hunter Chapin would have not immediately called 911.
Part is really confusing.
Because I know there were guys there as well.
So you know for sure there were other guys that stayed overnight?
I do know that there were other guys there. I know told me that he was a triplet and that his brother was there.
Hunter Chapin, yeah, he was...
Yeah, so he was there. And in fact, he's the one who told his parents said on the TV. So I assume that's the facts. That's true. So the police clearly weren't there yet. And everybody was told by the kids, not the police.
Now, two things I'd like to point out in this. One, did I hear correctly? She said, okay, we know that Ethan's brother, Hunter, was there. She says there were several guys there and that they had stayed all night. But Hunter's brother was there, and that Hunter had told her, Kim, the mother, that he was one of a set of triplets. So it was Ethan, Hunter, and another one. We have not heard anything about the third brother, if that is true. And two, the fact that there were other guys there and they were there all night. Plus the fact that Hunter was the one that actually told his parents, and the parents are the ones that told that on the news before law enforcement was ever called. That can be verified, guys.
Right, all these kids are there first, so the first call. So when my daughter, and I know that, here's what I do know for certain. When we dropped my daughter off to her house, before we went to the hotel, it was like about 12-ish. I hadn't seen her all day, or her boyfriend. But then when we went and picked her up for breakfast, it was probably around 8, 9. It still wasn't there. We went in. At some point, she was either there or she wasn't. Mm-hmm. The girls, and I kept saying again, why didn't they call the police? She's like, I don't know, Mom, because it's a party house. I don't know why. I think that's why. And that's kind of where that feedback comes from. I mean, and I said, have you been there? And she goes, well, no, Mom. I haven't been there, but a lot of people do. I mean,
now we're starting to get into some really questionable stuff. Not that she's telling a lie or that she's not telling the truth, guys, but does this woman really know more than what she's saying? First of all, she said Hunter told her. So does she know Hunter? Does she know these kids personally? And now she's saying that when she dropped her daughter off at whatever house, some female girl wasn't there, or that she didn't see her, and she didn't see her boyfriend either. And then there's a question of whether she was even there or not. What female wasn't there? And why would anybody in the Idaho 4 incident be at her daughter's dorm, which is in another college? Makes no sense to me. That I do question, guys.
They're cool. Like, and I said, how do you know? Do you even know them? She goes, well, she knows Xana's sister. Xana's sister, Jasmine, goes to school at Wazoo. So she, and Xana's sister, Jasmine, is Greek too. I don't know how she's in though, but she's friends on social media with, I don't even know if she is, with the kids over there. But she's really good friends with the Pi Phis, and really good friends with. She's her sorority sister. So, and that's where it came from. And then when charging documents or whatever came out here, she came down she was woken up, and I said, look at what they said, and showed her. She says, that's not what happened. And it was so absolutely organic that I have no reason not to believe that's what she truly believes, and that's the narrative she knew. So they were given a narrative, a whole bunch of kids were given a narrative by the kids that were there. Maybe received the text, wasn't present, but received the text from somebody in Pi Phi, and then she distributed it, and other people did as well. And that's why all the kids know it's a different story.
So this woman's daughter is friends with Xana's sister. That gives a little bit more insight of how much she might have known or might have been told. Think about it, guys. Might also explain a little bit more of why Kim knows so much or is so close to the story.
Important is that she got a phone call from Pi Beta Phi.
Yes, that's exactly right. I don't know what format the communication was in. I believe it was Snapchats. the problem, a lot of the problem with this investigation is it's Snapchats. But if you weave your way back through the Venmos, because if you're not Greek, you can't go on Greek Row, especially if you're a guy. So I do think that I know they do it at Pi Caps at Wazoo. They infiltrate, or they get a hold of somebody who will and sell for them on campus. Like Brian couldn't go to the Sigma Chi house. He's not a Sigma Chi. Only girls can go after 10 o'clock.
So is she saying that they have to get somebody that can infiltrate, or what she said, sell for them on campus or in these sorority or fraternity houses?
At least at Wazoo anyway. But you don't go to Greek Row, and unless you're an athlete, you can, because athletes aren't supposed to be. And my son's an athlete. Athletes, it's really, really frowned upon for them to be in the Greek system. But they're allowed to go to the parties. They get invited to the parties, right? Because Yeah. So, and if you're a girl and you're not Greek, you can go after 10 p.m. That's how it is at Wazoo anyway. It's very structured. And they say that's a safety structure. I feel like it might not be, but that's okay. Mm-hmm. Everybody finds their place, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think the girls, okay, I'm just going to say this. I really want to be clear about this. I don't think they were bullies. I think, to me, they look kind to everybody, and their kindness maybe made them more naive and put them in a precarious position they didn't even know they were going to be in. Not that I'm not blaming them. I'm just saying goodness is not a right to hurt somebody.
And again, guys, she is taking up for the girls. She's saying that they are not mean, they're not hateful, they're just naive.
I do think they were sucked into it because of Sigma Chi, and I do believe it's Sigma Chi. This is bigger than them, and it's bigger than Moscow police, which is why I call the FBI on the 13th, not Moscow police or Pullman. They're afraid. These kids are afraid to talk. I don't have a feel for Hunter. I think Ethan was probably, from what I can look at, he was the leader of the two of them. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But I could be wrong. I don't know. But also, the girls who were on Dateline in 2020, they are lying.
How do you know that? Did your daughter mention something about it?
Because I'm looking. No, I didn't. The first time I thought, oh, you're just being judgy, Kim. Just look again. Like, I'm just wanting to see them being bad. But then I'm looking like, no, they're lying. They have created a narrative to protect something or somebody or themselves, and they are feeding it around. And what they're realizing is they're putting themselves in so much more danger. And there's families who could go years with never finding out what really happened. Wow. I do think that Brian was a mastermind. I do not believe he was alone, because the information first given to my daughter was that there were 3 people there.
And this was at what time were the 3 people there? At 8 a.m. or at night?
When apparently when the murders happened, but
around.
Now, if that is true, then it's like we've all thought. Brian didn't do it by himself. Now, this woman is not saying Brian didn't do it. She believes he did it. She just believes, like the rest of us, he had
4 in the morning.
Maybe Dylan thought they were just going to be shaking them up for the money.
So the 3 people standing outside was at 4 in the morning, and one was a creepy guy. I think I remember hearing that one was creepy.
Yeah, they just call him the creeper. There's a lot of creepers that hang out there. I don't know. I think there's more questions to be asked. Mm-hmm. So my detector test is to be taken. I know they don't hold up in court, but they certainly work well to get, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think the only one who passed one is that Brian, because he's such a sociopath.
And when Brian was arrested, the first thing Brian said was, "Oh, was anyone else arrested?"
Well, what I do think is the reason he wanted to be extradited so quickly is because he's got something. He knows every single thing that these kids have done. When they felt like they were being watched, stalked, they were being watched. They were being watched diligently. I believe he's been in that house before. I think my understanding is he had been in the house, but he was a creeper and they kicked him to the curb and wasn't allowed to come back. That is what I think happened like a few weeks prior.
And once again, guys, it sounds to me like this lady Kim knows way more than what she's telling. I know she says that she tells everything she knows. But from the sound of this phone call and the way she describes Brian and the way she talks about him and Hunter and the girls, and to me, it just sounds like she knows more. She knows these people. She's not just hearing it third party through her daughter, in my opinion.
And I've told the police that. And that is because I've gotten that from the girls, because if they're not partying there and they're just getting this narrative from but it's still really, the towns are pretty small together, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty connected. So it's like being on the same campus. It's just 5 miles apart, right?
So your daughter mentioned that a few weeks prior, someone was kicked out. That was a creeper. Like, is that just something you heard from your daughter?
That she just thinks, she doesn't, she was told it was the creeper. And people would come to buy there, and they were like this 30-year-old, it's like they're like 25 to 30-year-olds that don't belong in college, that have record. And it took me forever to get the police. I called every day for almost a month.
So, was Brian Koberger the creeper that this woman speaks of that had been kicked out a couple of weeks before of a party that went on in that house? Plus, talking about all the older men coming to the house, were they the ones that were infiltrating and selling? To me, it sounds a lot like the Kylie Rodney case. What do you think?
I do know a mom tried every day for 15 days. She had spoken with Ethan at 2, or her son had texted Ethan at 2 in the morning. He was at Ethan's memorial service. They were good friends. Ethan had texted him at 2 in the morning. She knew, so this kid knew where he was at 2 a.m. And it took like 15 days, she said, to get somebody to call them back. They were so buried. And so I just called every day. And when I called the president of UI, because I thought I'm just going to call him because I'm not hearing back and I need to know he's heard my information. I don't need to know what's going on. I need you to know what I know because I do believe it. I think it's relevant. And why would I make it up? I mean, or why would my kid make it up?
Yeah, no. And the fact that there's multiple kids who experienced that, it's, it's not just your daughter making this up. There's like multiple kids that got the phone call.
It's a rabbit hole sometimes when you're not getting anything from the police and you know things aren't adding up. I mean, 1 and 1 is making 12.
Now, did she say that there is a young man out there that knew exactly where Ethan was at 2 in the morning, and that boy's mother continually tried to get a hold of law enforcement and tried to get them to call back because she had information, and they didn't? And then this woman, Kim, proceeded to make phone calls trying to get Ellie to get in touch with them so that they could give them information that they had about that night. That's what it sounds like to me.
Come on. It has to balance out. It has to make sense. And I can't help but think if I was a parent, I'd be thinking nothing is making sense. And it's being taken all these places where probably it's just the simplest explanation is usually the explanation, right? In life. But there's a lot of things in it, a lot of lying. And these kids are lying like crazy. I can't believe they let them come home for Christmas. And that's what I said to them. I said, are you seriously sending my kid home for Christmas? I know I lose here, but if they're Greek on either campus, you keep them there. A SWAT killed a guy December 15th.
Yeah, Brent Kopaka.
So my son, he came downstairs the day that the affidavit came out with the probable cause, and he said, Mom, the map doesn't work. Like, it doesn't work. Wazoo is a walking campus. I think Moscow's you walk a lot in Moscow too, but so they know the roads and they know all of those things and where their phones work. And there's really.
So if she's upset because they allowed people to leave the campus, possible suspects. She even was upset about her own daughter getting to leave campus simply because you do not know who is a suspect and who isn't. At that time, I don't believe they had caught Brian yet. And she speaks about another kid who was taken way too soon on December the 15th. Well, that was almost a little over a month and 2 days after the others. I would question that too, them allowing everybody to leave and not knowing who had done it.
No range in Pullman. I mean, there's more range in Moscow, truly, than there is in Pullman. But he spent like 15 to 20 minutes outside of the apartment where that guy was shot, where he supposedly lived, at the Coffee House Apartments. What was he doing there? Was he picking him up? And I don't think he worked for Pullman's. He was security. I thought he worked in tech at UI Tech, or the tech department at University of Idaho. But I could be wrong there too. They changed the story. They changed the person after the first day of putting it up. But why did he want to kill his roommates? And why was he living with 2 students if he's 38 and not a student? And is this Brian guilty actually, but going to get off because he's going to turn it on him? Because I think he's got something up his sleeve.
It's just,
I could be hearing this completely wrong, but is she saying that there actually is another person that law enforcement should be looking at along with Brian, and they're not? Go listen to it again. Tell me what you think.
I can't wrap my head around the fact that, because we all thought at 11:58, the roommates woke up, saw the carnage, called the police. No, they were awake 4 hours earlier, and that is huge. That's not in the affidavit.
Yeah, when I called her, when we got the alert at 5 o'clock, and I called her, my husband called, and she had all of she knew, right? And I think it hadn't sunk in what had happened yet, so she was giving it to me fresh, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, she knew. She'd known since, 10.
Since 10.
She was gone by around 9, between 8 and 9, 10, somewhere in there, because I never saw her. But she supposedly was there. And this is the narrative she fed to.
And again, we're speaking of the mysterious roommate of her daughter's, whoever that may have been, that was not there or could have been there, but she was not there at the time. That's getting a little fuzzy to me. Now, I know she says that her daughter was with her at breakfast when she started getting the Snapchats about what had happened, and that was around 10 o'clock. But who is this mysterious girl that she keeps bringing up, saying she was or wasn't there?
My daughter, and to whatever friend group she sent it to in Snap. And I don't know. I assume everybody else got one too. But I think they were creating a narrative, and I feel it more so because of what they had put on too. And it was on Twitter, I think, where they had posted it. But I think it's gone. And I did not screenshot it, which I wish I would have. I don't know if you can pull Twitter back. I think they can pull everything back, but...
And just another piece of proof that can be pulled. And we do know that law enforcement can get a hold of all those records. If it's put online, it's never going away. They can pull that information, and they can prove if this woman is telling the truth or not.
The consistency is that kids... I think there are kids on there that are trying to say this is something different than it's coming out as, but I think they're really afraid. You know, people have to start talking.
And with Hudson Lindo, so I had one of his friends message me because I made a video about Hudson, and everyone saw that video, and I was just talking about, his case and spreading awareness. She messages me and says, just to let you know that this has nothing nefarious to it. It has nothing to do with Sigma Chi. He tripped and fell on a rock and hit his head and passed out in the creek. But I went to that creek because I went to Moscow a second time. Yeah. But there's trees and bushes along the side of it. It doesn't really make sense to me.
Where was he going?
For
the shortcut.
I don't know. I have no idea. I think he was just leaving the frat and going home.
He's not.
So what do you think? Do you think there's anything connecting that boy's, unaliving to, or whether it be an accident or other, do you think there's any connection to the Idaho 4 case?
First one to die in that creek.
So you've heard about...
I think another boy died in 2015. Mm-hmm. But I could have the date wrong, but I believe another boy did. I certainly want them to have peace. Mm-hmm. And I don't want this guy to get off. And I'm really very concerned that he's going to have enough evidence to at least post bond. Yeah,
and his attorney, she seems to be a pretty good one because she, freed this other guy that was in jail.
I don't know how he got her. She's probably the best in the 5-state area. Forensic investigator is probably one of the best in the nation. How does that happen?
But,
Yeah, how does that happen? I could have swore everybody was throwing a fit because he had a court-appointed attorney. They were complaining because his parents have so much money. Why did he get a court-appointed attorney? And now they're saying that he's got one of the best lawyers in the nation.
If it wasn't for you, none of us would have known about this period of time in the morning where multiple people knew what had happened before the 911 call was made.
Well, the police know about it because they've known since the 13th when I called them. They are now the world's children. They did not deserve this. Yeah. And we're stuck with the scumbags, and we lose these beautiful lights. That's just Unacceptable. Unacceptable.
Now, if this is true, which in my opinion, I believe the woman may be telling the truth, but if this is true, then she's correct. Nobody would know anything if this woman hadn't come forward. Now, we know what the stories were in the beginning, and a lot of them fit right along with this woman's information. But if more people don't come forward and start talking, we may never really know the whole truth of this horrendous, horrendous thing that has happened, and that Brian Kohlberger is behind it. He is, it. But were there other people involved as well? That's what we need to find out.
Yeah.
So I will do everything I can. And it's just,
Exactly.
It's just, well, you're the one doing the hard work. You're out there doing it. And I would call you an investigator, and I would get my PI's license if I were you, because I find you to be very, very effective.
Oh, thank you.
Atlanta in 2020, I just said I'm looking at a bunch of lying kids who need to be in a timeout until they decide to tell the truth. Like, didn't your parents tell you not to lie? You are liars. Our interview was like real. It was a documentary. It was real. It really was. It was really nice to see,
Thank you.
And everybody grieves differently, I mean, some people are quiet in grief and people, aren't. And it's really hard to, I cannot believe the police arrested Xana's mother 3 days after she died. Because
Now, this I agree with completely. I cannot believe, if it was over something simple, nothing that was going to harm anybody, nothing vicious, why would they take and put that girl's mother behind bars after finding out that her daughter has left this world way too soon? That's just cruel. That is, they could have put a tracking device on her. They could have just let her stay at home until after the funeral, until all this was solved. It's not like she was a flight risk, guys. Now, that's inhuman treatment. That really
got a
is.
warrant. Come on, guys. Sometimes this woman just lost her child. Don't care what you think of her, what she's done.
Yeah, that timing was the worst. I can't even.
Why would they do that to her? They have a choice. They can go to a judge and say, hey, this just happened. They have a choice. I can't imagine now. She's sitting in a jail cell while her daughter is, they're preparing to bury her. Like, come on. Give me a break. People's lives are hard enough. They don't need this. So I'm frustrated. So it's nice to see that there's this world out there who's communicating to people. And I really do appreciate that. I appreciate you.
You are the first parent that has really come forward to say, like, there's more to the story.
Because I really think I'm right. And if I'm wrong, I apologize. But I believe everything that's been told to me, and I would never lie. And I know that about myself. And I just can't imagine not saying anything. What kind of a mother would I be? What kind of a person would I be if I didn't tell everything I knew?
And so
What kind of a mother would she be? Do you allow your child to just know something that's wrong, that's illegal, that could harm other people, and you not say anything? I've heard people make comments that this woman has threw her daughter under the bus simply because she came out and told what she knows to be the truth. To me, that's not throwing your daughter under the bus. That's possibly saving your child and other people's children. Because what if Kohlberger did not do this alone? What if there are other people out there that worked with him, that did this with him? That means they are just as sick as he is. Is this woman really supposed to put all these other people in harm's way just to keep quiet and not throw her daughter under the bus?
Like, does she know that you've, like, talked about this? Like, is she okay with that? Is she open, or is she kind of, like, scared?
She does. She knows it's not. And I think that because she's there and she really wants to stay there, I have spoken for her. And so, and I said if it comes down to it and you need to call her in and she needs to be a witness or whatever, well, then we'll handle that at that time. I do not believe, if I believe she did anything wrong, I'd walk her in the police department myself. Trust me on that one. I would. And I don't think she has. I think she's given everything she has. And when she finds something, she tells me. She thinks I am over the top too nervous and worried. And I think she's not worried enough. So we have a little battle there.
Mm-hmm.
But nature of the beast, right? But she knows I'm speaking for her. And I tell everybody I am speaking for her. And I believe her because that's what all the girls said. And that's the most plausible story.
That's the most plausible story. Yet nobody wants to believe this woman. In the Kylie Rodney case, people believe that the whole entire town was corrupt. There was one girl that got the most horrific thing done to her. In this town, there's 4, possibly more. And nobody wants to believe that anybody did anything wrong except for one man. How believable is that? How believable was it that the whole town was conspiring about Kylie Rodney? Think about it, guys. Use your brains.
Nothing else makes sense. For her to have opened the door and seen him, and him to walk by her, he would not have done that. He would have killed her.
Mm-hmm.
And if she was frozen, how did she shut the door and lock it? Right? She was on the first floor. She wasn't on the second floor. And I actually think that the girl who never moved in is the one probably who has a lot of answers.
Why did the police say?
Now, I don't know who the girl is that never moved in, but has anybody checked to see if there was a connection between her and Brian Koberger? Not accusing, I'm just asking, folks.
She was on the second floor.
She was downstairs with Bethany.
And you know that for a fact because your daughter told you that?
Yeah, well, that I know that for a fact because that's what my daughter told me. And she saw them out the window. They saw them out the window,
Mm-hmm.
and I think they knew they were coming. When the police say to be vigilant, walk in groups, well, guess what? They were sleeping, and there was a group of them in the house, and there was a guy there. What more could they have done? I'd like to know if somebody ate that whatever was in that Jack-in-the-Box bag, why the receipt was not correct, because the receipt is not correct if you pull it up. It just has an X on it. Did she order it? Does it follow a Venmo somewhere?
There's so many details.
And I will speak.
Now, I wondered this myself. Like she said, have they followed up on that receipt? Have they checked to see if, I think it was Xana that supposedly ordered the Jack-in-the-Box food? Can they prove it was on her Venmo? Or was it just something that somebody brought to the house, knocked on the door, said it was DoorDash just to gain access to the house?
Them anytime they want, and if they have questions they want me to go find out. If you have questions you want me to find out, I will do my best.
Yeah,
I will
think
be that mom.
After listening to Kim speak about what she knows about that morning, she appears to be telling the truth and appears to be sincere. What do you think about this new information?
And that was the end of the phone call, guys. And as that woman says, she is willing to help law enforcement or, the creator that she was speaking to. She is willing to go and try to gather information, gather any evidence, just talk with people, do what she can to help. Yes, she may be inserting herself into the situation, or she could be just honestly trying to help to make her own children and other people's children safer. There's a lot of ways you can look at something like that, guys. Is she inserting herself, or is she truly, truly trying to help? I think there's a big difference in her and the information that she is giving and, say, Jody Sue in the Summer Wells case. Jody Sue inserted herself into the case and continues to do it on a daily basis. She's giving fake and false information. She's accusing people. She's raving and ranting. This woman was giving information to help law enforcement. And in my opinion, I believe her. But I believe there might be stuff that she's not telling us. I think she may know more of these people than what she's saying. I mean, like I said, like she says, her daughter is friends with Xana's sister. she spoke about Xana's mom being in jail like it was at least someone that she personally knew. And she was very agitated that law enforcement would lock this woman up, knowing that her child was just taken and that they were going to have the funeral. And I just think this woman is telling the truth. But you listen to it yourself. You tell me what you think. Basically, in the comments, just tell me, do you believe her? Do you not believe her? Do you think she knows more or she knows more of the people? And I'm really interested in where she says that Hunter and Ethan are triplets. Where's the other brother? Where is he at? Is he not in college also? Does he go to the same college? Does he go to another college? Anyways, I'll see you on the next video. I hope you enjoyed. I know I did a lot of commentary. This is the first time I've ever done this, so, hopefully it turns out well. Hopefully I don't get, copyright striked. And God bless. I'll see you guys in the next video.